stream is about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Hello, let's write some code together. I am Leonard Facchinetti, and with me, we haven't streamed together for a while now, is the all-around great guy, Arya. How are you doing, Arya?
Hello, how's it going? Yeah, it's definitely been a while because after the New Year's break, we had to cancel a few times. I had to cancel a few times. You had to cancel a few times.
Yeah.
So it's good to be getting back in the flow of things.
Yeah, on the upside, I did not stream last week. Well, I streamed on Monday and we had a lovely guest, but for the rest of the week, I worked on this and it is live. So hooray! And the show must go on. So we are back to our streaming schedule, or at least I'll try to be, because when you launch something, it is going to go wrong in so many ways and you have to respond to that. But hopefully I will be able to follow through with the plan of streaming every day of the week at 6:30 UTC. Right, and the topic that we have for today is more related to web development than related to our usual thing of talking about Reaper and audio effects, but I did learn something cool that we sort of touched on previously on the stream, and I wanted to get back to that. And Bo is here. Hello, Bo. Great to see you again.
Hi, Bo.
I think you're gonna enjoy this one. So maybe you already know about this, but remember how we talked about how it would be nice to have a delay such that you can put anything on the delay path, any other effect on the delay path?
Yeah, and I actually asked on the forums about it, and there was one. Somebody sent me an effects chain where you can do that.
Yeah, so we had this idea that the way you could do it is you could have a typical sort of sandwich of plugins where the plugin that is later in the chain would capture the signal and send it back to the plugin that is earlier in the chain. So this way you can put any effects in the middle. And that works, probably. Haven't really tried it, but there is a global memory array that you can use, so you can send back data that way. And it's probably going to work if you do that. You can do something that is non-causal. There is this notion of causality, and you can feed back, which is sort of cool. But I learned that there is another way of doing this, and maybe this is the effects chain that you have, but I learned how it works, and it's super cool, and I wanted to talk about it for a moment before we dive into the web development stuff that we are going to talk. So the way it works is, first of all, you have to change a setting in the project settings. By default, this is going to be disabled. You need to enable it. And this is going to allow for feedback routing. And what that means is that you can, if you have two tracks, you can send track A to track B and track B to track A. Usually, if you do that and your settings have this disabled, which is the default, the tracks are just going to mute. It's going to detect the loop and it's going to mute the tracks. But if you have this enabled, then you are allowing for feedback routing and it is going to feedback. So... Did you know about this?
Yeah, I knew about this allow feedback in routing. Yeah, I never thought to use it in that way, but yeah, that's basically the way to do it.
Is this what the effects chain that you have do?
No, that's not what it does. There are like two JSFX, and one is like buffer in, one is buffer out. So the issue I'm just kind of foreseeing with this routing is that how much control do you have over the feedback?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
I can show you. So I have here, it's set up in the way that we are all going to hear what's going on in the track. And you do have to be careful because if you route things the wrong way, it's going to blow up, right? Loud noises, it says. But here's how I do it. You can route tracks in any way you like, but I prefer to have it as a subfolder because then by default, the child is already going to send to the parent. So all I got to do is just send the parent to the child. And also it's kind of a neat way to document that this is what's going on in the middle of however many tracks you have. So yeah, the routing is very simple. Just have a folder and send the parent to the child. And remember to enable this. Then you can have something like, let's have a delay. Let's add more stuff to the delay path. So let's add something that is going to make things very obvious, like a chorus. And maybe even some EQ as well. Just want to make sure that we hear the effect. So let's make this kind of a very resonant low pass. That will do. And then the delay amount, I don't want the dry, I only want the wet. And I guess 1/8 note would be good enough. No feedback, right? Because we are doing the feedback with the routing, so I don't want feedback here. And then all the rest looks good to me. So let's mute the master for a moment, just in case I do something wrong. But then my preferred way of working with this is with a send. Of course, you can have source signal coming from this track directly, but I prefer to use this as a send. And then I tend to use that setup that I learned from you, where you have a track set up this way. So the parent is like voice or guitar. And then over here, I will have my source signal. And then over here, I'll have my send. So I will route from here to there. And over here, how about we do this with our synth? I think that will do. I will enable this for recording, but then it's already sending stuff. I don't want my voice to come through. I want the MIDI. And then in terms of controlling the volume of the feedback, this knob or this slider is going to do something equivalent to what this slider would have done, right? It's going to control the amount of feedback. So you can take this out of auto mute. Can play some keys, and right now I have no feedback. You can see no feedback. But as
I don't hear this. I don't know if the stream is hearing what you're playing.
I muted the master.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna make sure that everything is working correctly, and then we are gonna hear it.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have signal over here, but not over there. And then if I increase the volume, then you can start seeing the feedback, which is too much in this case, right? Because I have a resonant filter, so if I have too much, then it's going to start.
It's boosted every time.
Yep. But that looks okay. And let's hear what it sounds like.
Nice.
Yeah, I can definitely hear the chorus and everything in there.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Yeah, so that's how you can... Oh, I can hear something self-oscillating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool trick. I picked it up from a Kenny Joya video. He did a setup that is similar but not quite the same. And I came up with this
Okay.
idea of using a child. And yeah, you can expand on this. Like you can put this to the left and then do something else on the right. Just duplicate this arrangement. And then you will have a ping pong kind of thing. You just, of course,
That's cool.
change here the amount of the length of the tap, and you can have sort of a ping pong kind of thing going. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool trick. Wanted to share it, self-oscillating.
Yeah, it's nice to have a fader for the feedback too.
Yeah, I guess it kind of feels like this whole arrangement here where you don't really have the multi-track with splitters and joiners like you can do in Ableton Live. Well, in Ableton Live, you can do it very ergonomically. In Reaper, you can also do it with multi-channel tracks
It's kind
and
of
pins,
a pain.
but it doesn't feel nice. But
Yeah.
this feels super nice, and yeah, you can control the amount of the feedback, and in relation to the original, you can also control the amount of feedback as you would have over here in the feedback control. And if you make this, I didn't, but if you make this a pre-slider, a pre-fader. If you make this a pre-fader effect, then you can control the amount of feedback and the amount of blend between the effects and the original sound independently, right? Because this is going to be pre-fader. So I think it works very nicely. I really like this setup, and it's completely free of you having to write new code. So that's a plus.
Right.
And Bo is asking if we finished the ping pong delay. Not really, but we are not going to work on it today. But we didn't finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have many threads that are open. And I'm planning on opening another thread. So I'm going to pitch this idea to you and see if you all like it. Well, I really like JS Effects, but I talked to many people, and they say, yeah, JS Effects are great, but there is also a place for writing C++. Even if you are writing JS Effects for prototyping something, maybe you want the thing to be usable in other DAWs, or maybe you want something that needs to be super fast, or whatever the case may be. So I thought about, well, isn't this a fine year to finally learn C++? So I'm thinking about launching the C++ slash digital signal processing slash juice study group. So we would be reading a book. I think that probably to learn C++ and the basics, it would be nice to follow along with a book. I mean, you can sort of learn things here and there, like following tutorials and reading code, but it's always nice to read a book. And Justin Johnson, who wrote ReQ, recommended this book that I thought we could start with. So I thought I would talk about it with people, you all, and we could start it on February. Started reading this book and then meeting maybe every week and sharing what we learned and talking about C++. So we would be diversifying things and talking about JS Effects and C++. The C++ slash DSP slash Juice, because I think that learning Juice these days is sort of a requirement, like it's the industry standard, sort of. Or yeah, we could go with iPlug, or there is also something that is specific to this book that I'm thinking about reading. It's a framework developed by the author of the book, and there are other things that we can use, but yeah. So I thought about doing that. So if you are all interested, I invite you to be part of the study group.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I mean, I still feel so lacking with like Lua. Like even not even like JSFX, but like writing actions and stuff. I struggle so much whenever I stray kind of out of for loops. Basically, for loops is the end of my knowledge. So I'm always like, ooh, if I learn C, like, can I learn C++? Am I too dumb? I don't know. but it's a great idea. It's a great way of getting good at stuff. That's how I got good in poker, is that I joined the study group.
Ah, amazing. Yeah, so this is the book that I thought we could start with, and it does not use juice, but juice is the thing that most people were using these days, and we could at least give it a try. And it's not what this book is going to use. It's going to use this, which is developed by the author of the book, but it has been recommended by Justin and other people as well. So it seems to be a good book. I don't know, we could give it a try. And I don't think that anyone is too dumb to learn anything. So even if there are some ways in which C++ can be better than Lua. It is a much bigger language, much lower level. Definitely you have to learn more to be able to use it. But I think that following along with a book and with a framework and everything, I think that they're going to get you by the hand and teach you things. So it may be better than Lua.
I don't know
in the
if
sense, I was going to say why it's better than Lua. So it's lower level, it's more complicated. It is in many ways worse, but there is more material about C++ than about Lua, because the C++ community is much, much bigger. So in that way, it can be a good thing.
And Air, I guess there's also like JSFX limitations that Justin was talking about. Air Windows uses C++, right? I don't know, does he use Juice, or does he just kind of have his own situation?
Yeah, so he does not use C++, if I understand correctly.
Oh, he doesn't? Okay.
He uses C. And
C.
Yeah, and he does not use Juice. He doesn't use any of the frameworks that we talked about, from iPlug that Bo mentioned to the other thing that we were looking at right now on that book page. No, he just downloads the... So one of the reasons why people want to use frameworks is that VSTs and audio units, they sort of seem equivalent. You get a plugin and comes in the different formats. But the truth of the matter is that VSTs and audio units are completely different APIs designed by different companies. So it is as if you were trying to write software for Mac and Windows, that sort of thing. And also, VSTs are different in Mac and Windows. So one of the main advantages of using these frameworks is that they are going to smooth out all the differences between the platforms to the extent that it makes sense. So when you go to something like Juice, you can just write code using the Juice framework, and the Juice framework is going to produce VSTs, audio units, even standalone apps, and iOS audio units, and all of that. That's not what Chris is doing.
Cool.
As far as I understand, he's writing in C, not C++, and he just is using the APIs directly. So you have to download the API for VST, so you have to download some development tools for VST, you have to download some development tools for audio units, all the things that Juice is going to do under the hood for you, just Chris is doing by hand.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, one sign that he's using C, so his project says CPP, which would be C++, right? But if you actually look at the code, it is using classes. So to that extent, it is C++, but he's not taking advantage of the C++ abstractions all that much. So I guess it is C++. There is no denying that, but it's written in the style of C. He is not using classes to a great extent. He's using classes just to make sure that the rest of the APIs are happy, right? Because if you're writing VSTs, some part of the VST APIs are going to expect classes. So there you go, he's a class. But you can see that he doesn't define lots of classes, and he's not using more advanced C++ features like templates and that sort of thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and Bo is right to say that he uses Xcode. And I think it makes sense, right? You can write C and C++ using something like Visual Studio Code, where you basically just have a text editor, but it makes a lot more sense to use Xcode because then you have a build system, a debugger, all those things integrated. And that's what most people use. So it makes sense to use that as well.
Cool.
Yeah. And
both thinks the study group is a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. I think people will join even on the Reaper Discord. You can maybe put out a feeler. And I think even the ideal size of a study group for me is like what, 5-6 people maximum.
Yeah.
Not a huge thing, and I think that's you will easily find the people for that. There's a guy, I forget his name. His icon is Hal from Space Odyssey. He's really good at Lua scripting, and I think he was mentioning kind of leaning towards C++ and wanting to learn it. So he'd be somebody Bo would join.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I am. It's just Fotis and stuff. You know him. And I have been talking about this, and now I am talking to you all, and then I'm going to talk to the larger audience. But I wanted to pitch this idea and try to gather your interest on this. Right. So we'll get to that at some point in February, and it will be more formalized by then, I guess. And I think we are going to talk about this on the Discord for the Reaper unofficial user group that we have been using for things related to these streams on my channel, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're watching this later and you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to the Reaper unofficial user group Discord server, and you will find a channel for us under my name. Right, so enough of Reaper stuff. Let's talk about your website.
Sure.
So I have here the latest version, and I already pulled the changes, but it's always a good measure when you haven't contributed something in a while is to npm install, because who knows, things may have changed. Now I have the latest dependencies, and it's also a good thing to make sure that I can build everything correctly. So npm start, and it seems to be okay. Yeah, it's building a lot of stuff.
I've been using it. Yeah, I've been adding the new blogs, and that system works really easy.
Yeah, so that's my first
I added
question.
some pages that are still hidden. Oh, okay, go on.
My first question for you is, how is the experience of using this whole crazy thing that we have been developing?
Super easy, writing in Mark. One thing I gotta really kind of still drill into my mind is the double space for line breaks. And otherwise it doesn't happen. But yeah, it's been really easy for what I want to do. There are some things that Markdown doesn't do, like underlining text, right? Which is something I always did when I want to in the blog be like, you gotta restart your fucking Reaper before you do this thing, otherwise it won't work and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But now I just do them in bold. It's not like a massive deal.
But in fact, it does do underlines, yes. Let me show you.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Remember that Markdown is... it's a language that kind of looks like text, but really it's HTML under the hood. So this is how you do underlines, or one way of doing underlines in HTML. So this works in Markdown as well. And we could come up with something more convenient if you think that using this sort of thing is not convenient.
No, that works. Also, I don't know, in the Wix blog, you could insert a table. Now I just screenshot a table if I need to add a table. Not a huge deal,
And this is how you do a table in Markdown. Well, there are two ways of doing it. The first is this one.
Oh, cool.
Looks like this. And the second, again, is to use HTML, right? So if you need to do fancier things, like you need a column that, you need a cell that spans 2 columns or that sort of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need a cell that spans 2 columns, there is no shorthand for that, but you can always do HTML. So you can always do things like this. I'm essentially translating the thing on the top into raw HTML.
Yeah.
And then when you have something like this, the cool thing is you can have another column and you can have a col span of 2, and that is going to make this table cell
Cool.
span through 2 columns. So let me write something more. Yeah, something longer to prove my point. Yeah, it's
Cool.
spanning through 2 columns. So anything that you can do on a website, you do with HTML. So anything you can do on a website, you can do with Markdown, because Markdown understands HTML.
And then there are some other stuff. But yeah, overall, it's really easy. I really like the YouTube tag. Stuff like that makes it really easy. I'm trying to think what was something where I was like, ooh, this would be cool, but I don't remember. And maybe actually one of the things that I wanted will come up today, which I tried to kind of self-learn, but it didn't super work out. And that is like a bit of text with like a triangle next to it, and you click on the triangle to like expand a thing.
Yeah, sure. Did you learn how to do that?
I like people were teaching HTML versions of it, and I just wasn't sure if I should be messing around with the HTML code of the site, because I'm not confident and I'll break something and I wouldn't know how to fix it.
Yeah, it looks like this. So here is the kind of thing.
So detailed summary, that's cool. Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, and again, this is Markdown. So if you have like a title, and then this, right? So I'm not writing HTML. Well, I am writing HTML, but remember that this is in Markdown mode. See, Markdown.
So if you're in Markdown overall, if you just do HTML coding, it would just translate?
Yep.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. That's cool. Then
Yeah,
I have
and the coolest
all
thing is
the
that you can
resources.
mix and match, which is kind of
Yeah.
amazing. So here I am writing Markdown, right? If I were to do a title in HTML, I would have written something like this. That's the equivalent of that, right? This thing translates to that. You can see they look the same here on the right. But then I transition into HTML land because of the tags, right? So this is HTML because there is no Markdown way of writing this component. There is a Markdown way of writing titles, but there is no Markdown way of writing this component. So I go to HTML. But the cool thing is that I can mix and match. So in here, I am not in HTML land unless I want to. I can use Markdown again. From inside the HTML land, I can go back to Markdown land, and you can see that now this is bold. And
Cool.
I can dive deeper if I need. So I can get all of this Markdown and put it there. So now I have Markdown over here, HTML, back to Markdown, back to HTML, back to Markdown, and it doesn't break a sweat.
Cool. By the way, a related topic, so right now your lines 6 and 13 are identical, right?
Yeah.
So you have a way of like editing both together. What I tried to use like modifiers in Visual Studio to see if any of them work that way, but I couldn't figure it out.
So there are several ways of doing this. The first is called multiple cursors. It's a feature in Visual Studio Code that also exists in many other text editors. So if you select something, your cursor goes there, right? So if you click on something, your cursor goes there. If you hold Option and you click on something, then you are adding more cursors.
Ah, okay.
And they're all going to behave the same. So if I put some spaces and if I type something, it's going to behave as if your cursor is in all those places, because I guess your cursor is in all those places. So that's the essence. Just hold Option when you're clicking, and you're going to end up with multiple cursors. Now, that said, there are some convenient ways of adding multiple cursors besides just clicking around. If you have a long column of stuff, particularly if you have something like a table, right? We had a table before. I don't think I can get back to that state, but we had a table before. Let me do something here real quick. Yeah. So if I hold Option and Shift and click, it is going to create something called a column selection. So it's just Option and Shift. And this time I have a column. So now I have a convenient way of creating a table just like this, with many, many lines.
Oh, dope. Nice.
And if I just have elements here on this, I can Option and Shift, and I can quickly create a column like that.
Cool.
And the final trick I'm going to teach you, there are thousands of ways of doing this, but you can lose your life trying to understand all the ways that Visual Studio Code works, like trying to understand all the ways that Reaper works. You can lose you lose your youth that way. So another thing that I tend to use is Command D. So what this is going to do is, if you have something selected, like I've selected this word or selected this sentence, and you hit Command D, it is going to select the next time that the same thing occurs. So you have a word. If I have a word, I can select the word and Command D, and now I have a cursor on both words, and then I can do something like this, move around, just like that. And if I have a sentence, and then Command D, it's going to find the next sentence. If I had a tag, it's going to find the closing tag. And if I select the tag like this, it's going to find the next open tag. All of these are useful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I guess I'll teach you one last one. Cool. If you find yourself having to hit Command D a lot because you have many, many copies of the same word. So if I wanted to change all avocado, I would have to hit Command D too many times, right? You can do that. But I guess one final trick is you can Command Shift L, and then you have selected all of them as if you have pressed Command D to exhaustion. So it's just going to repeat Command D over and over. It's the same behavior. If you select the whole sentence and Command Shift and L, you're going to end up with cursors everywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah, you'll see me doing that all over the place. And when you start learning some other tricks, you can sort of combine things. So coming back to this situation over here, if you learn tricks like, suppose that I have cursors in all these places, and then you learn the trick of going to the end of the word. You can navigate by letter using the keyboard, but you can also navigate by word, right?
Yeah.
So if you learn that trick, and then you may also learn the trick of how to go to the end of the line with a keyboard shortcut, then you can, in many ways, do like clever little manipulation of code with fewer keystrokes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so I guess the thing that I wanted your help with for today is like coming up with a system, and we looked at a few things like just Reaper.fm itself, of categorizing videos, because I make videos in more or less a random order, but now that I have like something like 200 videos, now it's at a stage where I can start putting them in categories like editing, recording, MIDI, scripting, etc. So making something kind of very similar to this that links to blogs and people can use to navigate the page. Because right now, if you have the link of a specific blog post, you can just go to that. But if you just go to the blog section, like all the blog posts are there with an image and title, but it's kind of hard to navigate around. I mean, you can do Command and F and navigate, but it just from a user standpoint, I think having like a categorization situation would be cool. Yeah.
So let's see what this looks like right now. I think that your website is just running on localhost. Am I right? Yes. That's very nice of you to keep that there. So what you're saying is that you just have a big list of posts that are not even ordered by date. They are ordered by the position in the file system.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's very like it's seemingly random.
Yes, it's ordered by the positions of the files here. So this series is gonna show up first. Am I right?
Interesting, because
right?
No, the sound design shows up first. Like I couldn't figure out any order.
Oh, so it seems to be just reverse.
The last kind of show. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
We can check this real quick. You can see that the stream is struggling to keep up with Visual Studio Code. That's kind of a big piece of software.
I thought that's my because on my Video Ninja I was getting you a little jumpy, but
no, yeah, my computer is like that. Yeah, so we are reversing that order. That's what we are doing.
Cool.
Yeah, so
your audio is perf, so that's fine.
Yeah, LLS is going to be the last.
Let's learn to script, yeah.
Or maybe not even that. Who knows? File systems can be weird. One thing that I noticed is that I ran the thing and it changed something. So it seems like there are blog posts that are jumping around between my computer and yours.
Interesting.
And that could only be because the file system is listing things in different orders. So who knows what's happening here?
Okay.
But I think that what we are trying to do today is exactly that, to impose some order to the madness that is going on here.
Yeah. And another thing, if we have time, is like a contact form.
Okay. Yeah, I want to leave in 45 minutes, so I don't think we'll have time to do all of this.
Okay.
But I do want to get the ball rolling on the tags.
The lists.
I do want to get the ball rolling here on this. I'm going to call this tags, right? You're introducing the notion of tags to posts. Right now, a post just looks like source code, but we are going to, and it has a title, but we are going to introduce the notion of tags. And I think it would be worthwhile to also introduce the notion of I was going to say some kind of ordering. So right now we don't have the notion of dates. Ordering things by date would be a natural thing to do. And I tend to like when posts are dated because otherwise it feels like, is this something that is still relevant or is it from 10 years ago? You know what I mean? So it could be nice to introduce that as well. So let me start taking notes here. Tags, dates, and contact form. And then I guess some ordering.
Contact for much less priority.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be cool with the tags, like if people see it on top of the blog, maybe like in small letters, kind of underneath the title, so that if they are in like a blog post for like a script, they can click on the tag for the script and navigate to like all the other scripting based videos, something like that.
Yeah. That makes sense. So I guess we are going to have something that looks like this. And maybe if the person clicks on, there will be a little tag here saying like,
exactly,
audio tutorials. And then when you click on that tag, we could navigate to some, maybe like this page, but with that tag already expanded. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Something to that effect.
Exactly.
If not exactly in this way. So essentially we are introducing the notion of metadata, and we could have more. We could have maybe some metadata that would be a YouTube link that is related to this video. And we may display that in a special way, like if there is a YouTube link, it could show up here automatically, or we could not display that, but it could be handy in the future if we want to do some automation. Like you could write a little script that will go to YouTube and back reference. So in all your videos, you could have in the video description on YouTube a link back to your website. And we could write a little program that does that for you instead of you having to go to YouTube Studio and do that manually on every video. So we could extract this sort of a metadata kind of thing if you want.
Cool, yeah. We do something like this with YouTube where I just put like the last bit of the URL and it automatically does the thing that you showed on the bottom.
Yes,
which is really cool.
Just like this. So right now we have that, and we have this thing on every post where there is a video, and that's kind of nice because you have complete control over this. Maybe you want the YouTube video to appear in the middle of the post because the rest is like some addendum. You have more control over the appearance. But if instead of control you preferred consistency and convenience, we could put this on the metadata, and then you wouldn't have to put this tag anywhere. It would just be part of the template. Same with this, right? This donation, follow me on Instagram, all of that. We could pull all of that into what we are calling the layout, and then you don't have to repeat that on every post. So again, you would be trading off some convenience. You wouldn't have to put this here, but instead you would have more consistency, right? So and less control, I guess, because if you had something different to say on one post for whatever reason, then we would have to change the way that works in some way.
Cool.
Yeah. So introducing the notion of metadata, there are two parts to this, or I guess there are three parts to this. This is a three-part story. Part one, Arya does a lot of work. And what I mean by this is you will have to go through every post and you have to put tags in there.
I've already done like a video, or not a video, sorry. I have a text file where I kind of know what the organization is gonna look like.
Oh.
Yeah, and that is in the repo. In the videos there are no tags right now, but I know exactly in which video like which tags will go. So if we make kind of like the shell of the thing, then I can go and like plug the stuff into it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I can
where
show
is
you.
that?
Go to blogs and tutorials section, and that's tutorialindex.rtf.
Okay.
So I have the categories in bold, and I have the videos under each one that they will go to. And I'll probably, like, since I did this, maybe I've done 4 or 5 extra videos, so I'll add those. So I know this part. So if we make this part, then I can go and like populate the tags in the posts, basically.
Okay. Let me know something about the relationship between the entities that we are talking about. One of the entities is the tags, one of the entities is the posts. And what is the relationship between them? Do posts contain just one tag or belong to just one tag? Or can the same post appear under multiple tags? Like maybe a video is about MIDI, but it's also about workflow tips, and it's also about this and that.
Exactly, yeah. The one video can go in multiple categories.
Okay. And
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And is there any relationship between the URL or the directory structure and the tags?
Sometimes, like for example, the ones that are sound design for film, well, they are all SD4 VM, and then they will all go in the same category. But the kind of main thing that I do, like rapid fire Reaper tutorials, the topics are super like random in no particular order that I did the videos in. So that part will just have to be manually me going and being like, well, this video is about automation, this video is about MIDI, this next video is about SWS.
Okay, so Arya does a lot of work.
So some work.
Yeah, because what you have to do is essentially include the metadata on the posts.
Cool.
Part 2.
It wouldn't take me too long.
Yeah, it is just work. Part 2 is we extract this metadata and include it on the posts somehow. And part 3 is, I guess, we change the, what is it called? Yeah, the slash
page.
Yeah, change the /blog page to order based on metadata, and we create tags pages, but maybe we won't have dedicated tags pages. So
yeah, I think I like your idea of it just coming back to the landing page. And that way people will know about the landing page.
Yeah. And do you think so this is the tags kind of view. You are organizing things by subject. Do you think it makes sense to also have a page where the same posts but are going to appear, but they're going to be listed chronologically, for instance? So if I already caught up on everything that I wanted to know about automation, maybe now I just want to see videos as they show up. So when you create a new one, I want to see that one. So it would be more of a typical blog where you just see the newest post on the top and then a list of posts.
Cool.
Do you think that would be nice?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay, so essentially what we want is to have a chronological view and a tag-based view.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a 3-part story, and I am going to show you how we can do this. There are 2 options. Option number 1 is, and by the way, my plan is that we are going to, in this stream, we are going to be able to talk about how you are going to do this work, and then your homework for next week is going to actually do this work, so we can get to parts 2 and 3 when the work is already done. But I'm going to show you options. So option number 1 is metadata is on a separate document, just like.
Cool.
And option number 2 is metadata is on each post. And I guess it's sort of obvious. So the way you are going to do that is like on this post, you're going to come up here and there is sort of a convention of how to include this metadata. You can see that it's going to highlight this in a different way. So let's say you have tags, and your tags can be something like scripting in Reaper, and I guess this, let's say that this is about MIDI. You're writing scripts about MIDI.
Yeah.
And let's say, and you can sort of see that the syntax highlighting is picking up, right? So this 3 dashes is sort of a convention of how to include metadata on a Markdown file. And you can see that when I actually render this Markdown file, the metadata doesn't show up. And okay, so 2 tags, maybe that's good enough. And then you also have a date. And then I tend to like to write my dates this way because it sorts nicely and it is an ISO convention, but
it's the only way to do it.
You can do however you want to do it. So this is
even time is like less important. Of date is really where it's at.
Okay, so maybe this is good enough for you. And then YouTube if this was a video on YouTube, it is. So we could have that here if you wanted. And this is how it would show up. So advantages and disadvantages of each method. Option number 1 is good because it sort of resembles the final product of this page, right? And it's a single place where you have this sort of overview of what are all the things I did in terms of automation, for instance. And that's the advantage of option number 1. It also seems to be the way that you naturally are inclined to do it. But there are advantages to option number 2 because it sort of mimics what we said we would want over here, where it would show things over here. And when you're creating a post, you have only one file that you have to dive into, and everything is kind of self-contained. It's one file, you create the file, you save the file, and you're out of there. So it's kind of nice to have this way as well.
Yeah, it feels like if it's on a separate document for doing all the ones that I've done so far, it'll be easier because it's one document. But then if it's on each post for new posts I make, it's more convenient versus opening 2 files. So in that case, I feel like, on each post would be easier, post by post basis.
Okay.
I'm always into it.
Yeah, so I guess you sort of already know the syntax that you have to follow. It kind of looks like this.
Okay.
I can maybe leave this here, but
just leave it,
I'll also drop this over here, and I'll make this available to you.
Cool.
And look at this. This is kind of interesting. Visual Studio Code has this feature where if you have just a buffer, if you just open a buffer that is not even a file, because I haven't saved this, it's just a buffer.
Right.
And it starts as plain text. But if I start writing things, it's going to try to detect which language I'm using. So if I write something that kind of looks like Lua, it's going to try to detect that this is Lua. Hasn't done a good job here. But it has detected the language over here. And the language that it has detected is called YAML, which is the correct thing, right? So Markdown is this thing over here. And there is a convention that you put 3 dashes to start and 3 dashes to finish. And in here, you write in this other language called YAML. And
cool.
If you want to learn, if there is something that is not working quite right, you can look at this document. It's really good. It's going to teach you how this works, right? So 3 dashes to start the document, and I suppose there are going to be 3 dashes at the end of the document somewhere, or there should be. No, but there should be. And you can learn about how to write comments, how to write keys and values for the metadata. And if you want, your metadata can be Boolean, can be numbers. If you come up with other, as in the process, right? If in the process you come up with other things that you think may be useful, like I don't know, maybe related posts, right? You can just write in more metadata, just tag as much as you can in a way that makes sense. So maybe you find that this is a related post to that one over there, something like this. Just tag all you want. And then on part 2, we are going to find out how to show all of this. If we want to show, you may want to just tag this as related posts, and then we don't do anything with that right now, but it may be useful in the future. So just tag in any way that you think is necessary. In fact, the notion of metadata and tagging is something that exists in other platforms. I'm sure it exists in WordPress that we talked about in the stream before. I'm not sure if it exists in Wix. Does it exist in Wix?
Yeah, lots of stuff exists in Wix. Yeah, I'm sure it does. I never really went that deep, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I guess this is the end of task number 1. We decided how we want to include the metadata.
Cool.
It's going to look like this. And then when we have all the metadata in place, we can talk about how we are going to extract that. And naturally, you already know how this is going to go. There is a package that lets us extract all of this in a way that we can just use in JavaScript. So coming back to this file, we have a whole thing where we parse Markdown, right, using this library over here. we can just bring in another library. If I remember correctly, the name of the library is Black Matter. JS. Dark Matter.
Dark matter. So a question on that. So once we have the tags, and then once we extract them, then the bits, I'm assuming the answer is yes. The bit where they are organized into a list, that's done automatically. So when I make a new page and I add the tags, it'll just automatically parse that into that list.
Yes. So when you create a new post or you come into an existing post and you save, we are going to rerun this file that regenerates files on demand. And it is going to regenerate the index over here. Where is it? This one. So it's going to regenerate this as well. And it is going to take in account all the tags that we have created.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. So for now, I just go and tag these, and that's that.
Yeah. Oh, so look at that. It seems like the package, I'm misremembering. I thought that it went under a different name. In any case, here is a package that I don't think I used before, but we can just use it to extract that kind of metadata from the files. It is going to look like this. We already read the file to parse the Markdown, so we're just going to pass that file into the package, and it's going to spit out an object that we can start using in JavaScript. And then we are going to have to write a little program that is going to use this.
Cool.
So now it seems like we managed to go as far as we can on this. We could start writing the code that is going to use this, but really, let's not do that. Let's just give this contact form a little bit of love. How about that?
Okay. Sure, sounds good.
Yeah, I guess in the last 25 minutes we can do that. Because it is a relatively quick thing for me to do. So I changed some things here, but I don't think I want to commit any of this. I guess you can also refer back to the stream if you forget how to include this here. So I'm going to leave this note here, but...
It sounds easy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to revert this so my commits will make more sense.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that I reverted the Markdown file, so the little script knows that it needs to rerun and it regenerates the HTML, and then they go out of this list because it just went out of the list because it went back to what it was before. Right, cool. So a contact form. Well, I guess first it needs to appear here on the menu. So let's get that out of the way real quick. And
I made some extra pages too. I haven't launched them, but yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. So how about we touch the menu when the page is done? So to create this...
I did like lessons, but that's still not there because I'm still not done with it.
Okay. So this whole layout is here. Now let's remind ourselves how this whole thing works. We have a Markdown processor. We have a layout M time. Oh, okay. That's so we don't regenerate every page every time, just on demand. And then we have the blog index, and then we don't have other pages, but we can have other pages. I can just copy and paste this piece of code and change this from blog/index into contact/index HTML. That looks fine. And then I
guess the rest of our pages aren't like auto-generated. We just generated them.
All our pages are auto-generated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The blog index is generated here. All your posts are generated here. Or not here, I guess. I will have somewhere where I go through the list of blog posts. Probably something that looks like this. No. Where is it? I'm sure I'm going to use the Markdown processor for that. So here it is.
Cool.
This is the loop where we get a hold of all your Markdown files and we process them and spit out over here. So I guess I was right in the first place. Yeah, we spit out all the HTML referring to those files. Right, so to create a contact form, we create a new page, contact/index.html, and I do have to create the contact folder. Oh, it's already there. Then what do we want to have as the content? Well, it has nothing to do with blog posts, so this whole thing can go away. And as the body, let's just have a little hello to make sure that everything is working. Oh, and I saved this file, which contains the layout. So it's going to regenerate everything, which is not what we want for development. So I'll get rid of that in a moment. But let's go to /contact. And hello is here.
Cool.
But while we are developing this, I don't want to regenerate all posts all the time. So here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to get this whole section that is regenerating blog posts, and I'm just going to comment everything out. So this way we can save the file, and it's not going to regenerate everything. See, I just resaved the file, and it's a bit quicker. And of course, I have to remember to undo this at the end. So what do we want to have here? Well, I guess we want to have sort of a heading. This is HTML that I'm writing, so. And then we'll have a form. And we want to post some data in this form. By default, forms work like, I guess, this. Where they put the search terms on the URL, but we are not doing search, so we don't want the form data to appear in the URL. We want it to be posted instead. So that's why I have this here. And, I mistyped, it's a method. The action is where we are sending the data to. We'll get to that in a moment. Then let's have an input of type text. Its name is going to be something like, I guess you want some email, right? You want the person to say what their email is so you can get back to them. This is probably going to be a required field. And, okay, let's have a label for this. And weirdly enough, when you have a label, you put the input inside the label. You can put the input outside the label, but then you have to say that this is a label called email, and then you have to say that this... Oh, sorry, it's the other way around. You have to say that this is a field called email, and then you have to say that this is a label for email, but you can save yourself the hassle by just including the input in the label itself. Just got a sort of a weird feature of HTML. So this is an input field, and it is required, and its type is actually email. There is a type specific to email. On mobile, it is going to show a different keyboard with an @ sign.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff.
Cool.
And then we'll also have, I guess, just a text box. It's
Body, yeah, that's it.
A text area. And do you want a label for this one that says like, your message? I find that kind of silly. You know what to do, right?
Sure. Right, yeah, true. You should just say what.
And then, or maybe, if you really feel like it, you could have like something like your message, and then it's a placeholder, so it shows up like this. And we haven't styled anything, and using my CSS framework, everything comes without styles. But there is an area here where you can type in your email. And over here, there is an area where you can type stuff, and your message is now just a placeholder here.
Cool.
This is such a simple form that maybe we could even have this as a placeholder as well. I hear myself coming back from your signal, Aria. Did you
Yeah.
have the auto mixer enabled?
You shouldn't hear yourself coming back through me. You may be hearing it from somewhere else.
I'm pretty sure it's from your headphones.
Like, did you hear yourself right now when
No.
you said I'm pretty sure it's your headphones? Oh, so yeah, it's not from my headphones. I don't know.
Weird. But did you do something? Because I don't hear myself anymore. No, I do hear myself coming back from him. And I see the meters on the Video Ninja thing bouncing, so I know it's coming from you.
I guess when I do touch some stuff, the gate opens and then you come through as well.
But are you running the auto mixer?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I didn't save that project and then...
Whatever. Right, so this is what it looks like right now. It is a contact form. It just doesn't look very nice. But it is a contact form. And I guess that...
I like the placeholder. So it's like explicit where people should click if they're done.
Yeah, do you want to ask more information, like the name?
No, email is fine.
Okay. And I guess both fields are required, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to just send me an email and not say anything.
Well,
no, yeah, both required.
You could not require an email back if you want people to be able to contact you anonymously.
But then how would I get back to them?
You don't. That's anonymity, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, let's not require it.
Okay. Okay. Well, the message needs to be there. The email isn't required.
Yeah.
So here's the cool thing about having the required field is if you try to send, it's going to say, please fill out this field. It's not going to let you send.
Yeah.
And
cool.
It is even going to do something that I find a bit smarter. If you type in something that is not an email, it's going to say, dude, I said email.
Yeah.
But it is silly, right? If you do something like, this is definitely not an email, but it is going to allow it. See, it's complaining about the message now because I made it required an iteration ago. Yeah, so now, oh yeah, it is required. It's still required. So this is definitely not an email. So we can improve on this using some other techniques, but it is a form. It looks ugly, and it more importantly, it doesn't really work because when you send this form, what happens then?
Where does it go, right?
Yeah, where does it go? So I have a couple solutions for this. This is a static website, right? So there is no server to talk back to. Well, there kind of is a server. There is the GitHub Pages server, but the GitHub Pages server doesn't know how to handle a form. So my question for you is, what do you want to happen when you send this form? The most basic
get an email.
The most basic option is just get an email. But there are something that there are other options. You could like have you could collect this in a document somewhere on Google Docs or on GitHub. That's my preference actually. You can have a contact form that when submitted is going to create an issue on GitHub. Sort of cool. Just shows up here on the issues page.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can do all sorts of cool things. You can even do things like send back an email to this address saying that, yeah, I got your email. I'm going to reply momentarily. Can do all sorts of cool things.
I think if it goes somewhere other than email, I may just forget to check it. And I don't like it when I fill out a form and I get an email back. It's like email me or like an auto-generated email back, right? I'm just like email me back when you get the thing, you know?
Yeah, depends on the form. When I'm filling in my tax returns, I really like when it sends me that automated email.
Need
But I get your point. Yeah, I agree actually. So the issue is GitHub is not able to send that email for us. So I have two solutions for this. Or there are many solutions, but two stand out. The first is the low-tech approach. Instead of having a contact form, what I have on my website, for instance, if you go to not Liafact local, liafact.com, I use the low-tech approach here. You click here and it opens your email client, and you write an email to the person. And what's cool is that you already have even the email address of the destination. And I don't have that here, but you could have fancier things like a pre-filled subject, a pre-filled body and whatnot. So, and people already know how to use email. So that's a low-tech approach that works nicely. I like that. But I don't think you can do that anonymously. So that's one thing, right? And I don't know, you may feel like it's more professional if you have a form to fill instead. It's kind of a silly thing, because over here in my email client, I can do like formatting. I can do bold, I can do tables,
You can attach
stuff. It makes for me personally, I think it makes a lot more sense to do this instead of having a form. But you may feel like it's more professional to have a form, or you may not want to disclose your email on your website, whatever the reason may be. We can have a form, and then we would need a separate server who is going to listen for this and send the email.
You make a good point. Like, honestly, what if in my contact page it says you can email me at this address, or here's like a Facebook page, you can contact me there, or here's a Discord server, contact me there. And if people want their anonymity, like, sorry, it's the internet into 2021. And if you want to, if you want anonymity,
you can create an email using I don't know if it works that way, but there are services that like create fake email addresses.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can send email using
throwaway or something. You can fill a contact form with those emails, or when you make a registry. But I don't think you can like log in and check emails sent to that fake email.
Yeah. In any case, if you want to be anonymous on the internet, you know how to do it. It's not that hard. So you can create a fake Gmail account. You can do whatever. So I don't worry about that too much. And I do the low-tech thing where my contact page, if I had one, I guess my website boils down to a contact page, right? I would have here just a link to my email address. A link to an email address opens up in the email client like I just showed. And then you have a link to your YouTube channel, link to your Facebook account, Instagram, all the social networks, and that's that. So
here's an idea, actually. What do you think about this? Can you go to my main page or the local page or whatever? Yeah. So you see how there are these icons there, like YouTube, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. What if there's just an icon of an @sign? You click on that icon, your email browser opens, and you can go copy link address and copy it to your browser if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can do that.
And I can even do that. Well, I can't even do that. I think I learned how to do that. So I'll do that.
All right.
Now
so I guess
sold me on this idea.
A contact form is Aria does more work. And here is a little tip. If you want, you can use the mail to protocol. So your link is going to look like this. Or something. I'll let you decide at idgqdsound.com, because we made that redirect, right? So everything sent to this address gets to you, so you can fill this in however you want. And over here, find a good icon of an envelope.
Yeah.
Or an @sign or whatever.
Yeah.
And then close the tag. And if you want, you can have like a subject equals contacting Aria, and the body equals hello Aria, and that sort of thing. And if you have something like this on the link, it is going to open up your email client with this subject and body already filled in.
Cool.
I don't tend to use that for contact forms, but
Yeah.
I use that, for instance, on my recently deployed thing, course lore. If you come here to report an issue, for instance, you can report an issue via email. And over here, it is going to pre-fill stuff like, what did you try to do? And trying to steer people in the direction of reporting nicely to me. All right, so I think that is kind of useful, and you can do it that way if you want. And this mail-to protocol is really what you're interested in. The mail-to is sort of like your HTTPS kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a different protocol. All right, so I think it's time for us to say goodbye because you have a lot of homework and we covered everything that we wanted to talk about, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that, and then maybe next week we can reconvene and get her done, and then we'll get back to our delay or and the delay more or less is finished. I mean, like, if one thing I could control would be like, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we have a million things on the to-do list, but we may decide that we don't want to do them. Another thing that is kind of important, if you're going to go with this mail-to kind of approach, one thing that I think is important is have a tooltip with spelling out the actual email address, because this is kind of weird, but
some people don't have that. Yeah.
So people don't have that set up correctly. And I was surprised to learn that, you know how you can right click and copy email address? You mentioned that in a minute ago. I was surprised to learn that most people don't know how to do that.
Yeah, most people don't know how to do so many basic stuff.
Yeah, so most people will not.
You gotta help them. But.
Yeah, so I guess that's something that you should know. Some people will have, and that was surprising to me, if you click on the mail-to thing, the mail-to protocol you can see here, it's not going to work for them because they don't have their email client set up correctly. And that was surprising to me, first of all, because it's kind of a standard. It has been around for 30 years at this point, or something like that. And still, some people just, and it is used all over the web, but still, some people just don't have that configured. And those people will not know to right-click.
I just don't like it. I don't like the mail interface on Mac, so I'm like, nah.
But you can configure this to open anything else.
It can like open in the browser?
I suppose. I haven't tried, but it must be the case, right?
Okay.
Yeah, well, in any case, people, if you don't spell out the email, they may not know to right-click. Yeah, people just... There's only so much you can do, right? But yeah, try the best you can to put the email address on people's face because, I was experimenting.
Well, we already have those like hovering kind of text when you hover over the icons, so I can just make that be like my email address, because the @ will hopefully make it explicit as hell that this is an email and not
you
like
would be surprised Arya. I have been developing this app and there are so many things that I think are like, oh yeah, of course, if there is something that says email and it has an envelope, if I click on the thing and it doesn't work, or if I prefer to open it in the browser for whatever reason, I know how to right click and copy an email address. But you would be surprised. Most people don't know things like, we have this feature where you can pin posts. You know how you can pin messages, pin posts on
Yeah.
Most people don't know what that is. Tags. Most people don't understand the concept of tags. What are they for? Like, do I say like, Bob is our uncle here? What do I write here? My wife is saying on the other room, you're talking about me. Yeah. So yeah, most people don't know this. And my wife was one of those people who didn't know about some of these things. But yeah, try to make it as explicit as possible. Try to put things on people's face as much as possible. And Arya, we don't hear you anymore. I don't know if you're hearing us. I think that he like cut his mic and he's answering the phone.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my dentist called, and I had to pick up. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. That's the lesson. When designing stuff, try to be more as explicit as possible, and don't rely too much on people knowing how to copy the email link and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we have to keep that in mind.
I recently had to explain like subscribing to somebody. They were like, "What? That's a thing?" I'm like, "Yeah. Have you been watching YouTube for like 10 years?"
Yeah,
what
and
do you do and
the thing is, the designer is always wrong, and the user is always right, no matter what. And yeah, it is like that. You just have to do that. And Bo is saying, by the way, Aria, do you notice a difference with YouTube thumbnails as per views plus likes with different thumbnails?
Yeah, thumbnails definitely are super important. I mean, it's hard with the data set that I have to be conclusive, because like I think I'm getting better at making thumbnails and my videos are getting more views, but also my channel is getting more followers, so I would get more views. But I've just learned, like at the beginning, I had too many words in my thumbnails, and now I try to have like 4 or 5 words. I think thumbnail helps because thumbnails help me. One thing that everybody says you should do, and I just can't bring myself to do it, like all the research is in, if you show your face on the thumbnail, it's better, you'll get more clicks. But I just can't bring myself to be like, and like, I know I can't do it. So I know that all the research says like put your face in the thumbnail, you'll get more views. There's no question about it. But I just can't do it. Sometimes I put the faces of other creatures and things in my thumbnails. And I don't know. Again, I don't have enough data to be like, it helps. But like just now looking, there's one video where I put the face of the penguin from Ice Age in there. And it's got a lot more views than the videos before it and after it. So,
well,
yeah, thumbnails are important for sure.
Yeah, thumbnails are what sell. They make or break the video in terms of view count.
Yeah, one caveat with that is that the type of tutorials I do, you know, is not the type, you're not gonna randomly have my tutorials show up on your feed. You're gonna be searching for Reaper stuff and hopefully my stuff shows up. So thumbnails are less important in that regard. Like people search for something, if the topic that they're looking for is you, they're gonna watch it. And then for your subscribers, I guess the important thing is that they know from a thumbnail, like, oh, that's this person. Yeah. Which I also don't abide by. I'm still not committed at all to any of the like branding and color palette or anything on my page, because I'm like, I still haven't found like just the perfect thing.
Yeah.
100 episodes in.
Yeah, man. The things that you have to do to get people's attention. Oh, yeah. Man, we need to do a video about the pro chords that you can get with the Unison chord pack. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That drives me mad.
I was doing a video on that, and overall, I have a lot of videos that I'm doing that are non-Reaper related, but I'm just very procrastinating on them and like a little stressed as to whether they'll work or not. But that was one video that I was doing, and then I saw a Tentacruel's video on that, which I don't know if you know that YouTuber.
I know.
And then I was like, okay, Tentacruel said everything that I said, and so I just scrapped that video. But I am gonna do a video on chord gun and then the Unison MIDI chord pack in that, because chord gun is free and works like 100 times better than freaking Unison MIDI chord pack.
Yeah. Well, Kenny did a video about this recently, and there is this very nice GitHub
Yeah.
page where this project where they just generate a bunch of MIDI files. So using Python,
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool script. It's similar to the kind of thing that we end up doing here on this channel, writing scripts to generate things, a website, or
Yeah.
in that case, MIDI.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Unisom MIDI chord pack, there's so many levels to or so many layers to how stupid it is. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't even, now they are pushing these ads like to celebrate 100,000 downloads. Like if that stat is true, I really don't know what to say. Or like 1 in 70 people on this planet bought that breaks my entire faith in humanity.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it is like we built a form here. It looks like this. And then our reaction would be, oh my God, just look at this form.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
Just type on your keyboard and the words will go to the other person.
Yeah, man. And this is a form that is going to work on user. Because they have the chords in every key.
Yeah.
I am mad. Let's get out of here. Thank you very much, Arya,
really
for
suck.
joining me on this stream. And tomorrow I'll be back. I'll be doing JS Effect stuff. And yeah, join us on the Discord server for this study group, the C++ study group that may happen starting February. All right. Bye, everyone.
Cool. Bye-bye.